And we're back. So we'll continue where we left off last night, adding a new feature to the game. I've been playing a new character, and doing all the flax farming has brought to my attention just how tedious it still is, especially the just filling up the water jugs over and over again. I think I had 12 or 13 pots to fill up every time, and just clicking, fill up, fill up, fill up. It's just too tedious. It's not the time that takes so much, it's just the having to be engaged for that long. So a feature that I've wanted to do for a while is the ability to craft more than one thing at once. So instead of every time you click craft, it crafts one, there would be additional buttons to craft 5, craft 10, craft as many as you can with the materials you have. And so last night I started that work. So I'm doing T to D. So the first step was this simple test. I try sending a craft message with a quantity, and then I get that quantity. So the diff looks like this. I apologize if it's hard to read. So we've got a new, this is just a little comment in the message header saying that it now takes an extra argument. It's not really enforced in any way except when the message is received. So one day maybe I can do a better job of keeping this a bit more formal, but for now it's kind of messy. When we send the message, we have to parse the new so we were parsing just the recipe ID, now we're parsing the quantity as well, and then we pass this quantity through to the beginning crafting, so we have to add an argument there. Also a field in user for the quantity of whatever the current action is. I'd like to move all this into a struct probably, but we'll get there. Ultimately, we get to begin crafting with a quantity. Set the number here. So crafting has two steps. One step is starting the user on the I am crafting X, and you see the progress bar filling up. And you can tell him on the screen, okay, you are crafting this, blah blah blah. Watch the progress bar. But then when the time completes, you then have to remember what the quantity is. That's why we need this field here. So when the timer finishes, then it actually does the crafting itself, and it needs to reread this quantity. So so that's this is where it's set, and then this function here is in the update function. So if we go off a bit, we can see that it's when the timer is finished of whatever action is taking place. So if crafting is the action, then when it gives you the item, it gives you the actual quantity. So this is a very crude. This is like the simplest solution that will solve the problem. That will specifically make this test pass. We don't check that there's space for that quantity. The existing check for inventory space happens here, I think, when we start crafting. So eventually we'll need to No, it doesn't actually do the test at all. So it is does it? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't. You can click craft and just and wait for the progress bar, and only then will it figure out whether you actually got inventory space. So give items. I mean, I know it does the check somewhere. I've done enough crafting in the game to know that it works. So that's the quantity to give. Give item is pretty a pretty low level thing. Okay, has room to craft. So here we would need to eventually do more work. So this is a very crude implementation, but the way that TDD works, we write a test, we make that test pass. The test is that, you know, you try to craft 2, you get 2. If we want to later enforce this and make sure that this changes, we don't do a code change until there's a test that a failing test that requires this change. So to make sure I don't forget that, I just kind of keep a rough to-do list here. And I mean, I might have to check in that way. So I've got this here. Currently, I just kind of give the user the give them 2 instead of 1. But what I'll eventually want to do is craft 1 at a time. So it crafts 1, gives it to you if you can, and then it crafts another one and gives it to you if you can. And if I tell it to craft 2 and it only has space for 1, then I should still get 1. So that's not even where I'd want to make the code change. So I will shape this feature with these new tests as it over time, and then as long as I don't overlook any behavior, then the feature should be complete. Well, this is only the server side as well. Well, this is client side, but what we also will need to do is add buttons to crafting window. So these are just client side changes, but this is the guts of the feature. So the other thing in this change is a lot of basically every existing test that sends a craft message now also has to send a quantity. Without this, all of those tests were failing because the parsing this message was now expecting a quantity. So all of these tests were failing, and now they will not. So I can't. When doing TDD, I like each commit to be in a state where everything's passing, and so we've got a new the new test and the changes to the test so that these tests still reflect the correct behavior, and then the minimal. And there are a couple of other files with tests that use that send this message. So we've got the test, and then the code changes that make that work. So commit. Add quantity. Give that many items. Okay. Yep. So the next thing we probably want to do is what? So we're giving the right number of things. I don't really want to start doing multiplying this. So the code itself is basically wrong. We've got we've increased the number here, but that's not where we want to do it. So what we'll probably want to do is run through multiple actions. So the next thing to probably do, the simplest way to enforce that is using time. So let's see. We'll use the test framework uses catch, and I'll use the given when then macros here to sketch out what this test looks like. So section each crafting step items are crafted one at a time. Given a recipe that takes 100 milliseconds, when the user crafts 2, let's say starts crafting 2, meaning sends a message to craft 2, and when 150 milliseconds elapses, then he has one product. And when another 100 milliseconds elapses, then he has 2 products. So I've split this up into 2 separate cases. So it'll do this. The way that catch works is it will go through step by step. This, and then from the top, this. That will work, and it's clear that these are kind of testing 2 different things. However, it's going to take twice as long to do this test than it needs to, when this is just kind of doing other stuff on top of this anyway. So I'll make the test a little more sequential, and it'll just do starts crafting, wait 150, check, make sure I have 1, go another 100, make sure I have 2. So it'll should only go through once, and that's perfectly logical. And that basically describes the behavior I want. And then so I'll write this test, and I'll observe it failing, and then I'll figure out how to quickly make that. There's going to be no quick way to make it pass and keep all the other tests passing. So I'll have to actually do this properly. And then once the structure is correct there, then I can look at removing materials if that's even necessary. Stopping at the right point, even if it's even necessary. So yeah. So first of all, I need a recipe. I'll just copy this. It's going to be basically the same kind of structure, except this one will also have a crafting time on the recipe. So I can just copy any existing recipe I have. Most of the recipes in test probably don't have a crafting time, unless that's the feature being tested. There's no real benefit there. So it's just okay. Time equals good, easy. 100 milliseconds. So what should the recipe actually be? It doesn't really matter. What's something I can make out of nothing? I've used this example before, but let's just go with an idea. You can see it just kind of bring. Given it takes 100 milliseconds to come up with an idea, tries to come up with 2 ideas. He has 1 idea. He has 2 ideas. Fun. All right. Using actual concrete examples just makes things a little more fun and readable, and it's a bit easier to grok the test at a glance. Okay, so we've got our data. We've got the user. Tries making 2. So far the only difference between this and the other test is the time it takes. But now we'll actually test that they're done in order. So do that. Check that there's 1. check that there's 2. Cool. So the reason why I expect this to fail is that it will get here, but after it sends the request, it'll wait 100 milliseconds, complete crafting, and because of the way that this other code was written, here, it will actually give 2 at once, and then this will fail because it's 2 instead of 1. So I'll run this. Now, it's important that, it's TDD, so I want to see the test fail, but it's important that I see the test fail for the correct reason. Because if it's for the wrong reason, then it means either the test is wrong or the behavior is not what I expect, the current state of the behavior. And so basically, if the test is passing or failing for the wrong reason, I need to fix that. Okay, and it looks like the correct assertion is failing, so I'm guessing that's behaving correctly. That is, it's failing for the expected reason. And if all the other tests are passing, then that's good. So I'm currently just running every test that involves crafting instead of the entire test suite. Cool. So we've got a failure. That's good. Now we just make it pass. Now I haven't actually thought this far ahead. I don't know what how in terms of code I'll probably do this, but that's okay. It's probably not going to be too complicated. So first of all, I'll get rid of this. So if I get rid of that, then this will work, but then there won't be anything happening here. So this is basically undoing the work I did in the last commit, and this commit this assertion will then fail. In addition, this test here will fail. So that's no good, but that is a necessary step. So we now need to just fix the code so that everything still works. We want to keep the quantity that we've added. If I can find it. Yeah, here, the action quantity. And we'll use that for the remaining things that we were trying to craft. So, after we finish crafting, what we'll want to do is decrement the crafting, the action quantity, and then if action quantity is more than 0, or more than equal to 1, whatever is most readable, then we start crafting again. So begin crafting. And what's the recipe here? Action recipe. And so let's see quantity. So what actually happens in here? So it's probably worth going through here again. So this gets called again. This is going to get overwritten, which is a bit of a waste, but that's okay. Yeah, so we want all that stuff to happen. So we'll just send it the new quantity. It'll just overwrite the yeah, so this is actually not necessary. Yeah, we send it the reduced number, and then that should work. So it's going to try doing this. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's. I'm trying to think what is going to break here. So what the next step should be, but maybe I'm overthinking it. Did I take 2 arguments? Speed. Where is this currently called? Let's take a look. So handle message speed. Tool speed. Okay. For now, we can just pass the same speed through, but eventually, we have to be open to the possibility that between crafting the first and the second, a tool goes missing, or the speed has to change. So, breaking during first. Speed change from the above. So these are cases that I'm thinking of now that I'm looking at the code, so I just need to make sure I handle that. Yeah. So this speed here is kind of dual purpose. Number one, it tells you how fast to craft, but it also tells you whether you actually have the tools you need. So if it's 0, then it has to break. And so we'll have to do this check again here. So what I really want to do then is kind of just put all this in a function and call that at a higher level. So this is maybe a little too low level, begin crafting, but I'll get to that when I come to it. Again, this is just whatever's quickest to make it pass. Then I'll if I need to make a code change, a semantic code change, I need to justify that with a failing test. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Where is the speed? I don't think I have access to that. Begin crafting. What does that do with the speed? Does it save it somewhere? No. Well, I mean, I'm not testing the speed for the second craft. I'm sure there's no test that does that yet. So, yeah, that'll do. That's obviously wrong, hard coding a speed there, but fine. It's good enough for now. If it's not good enough, I should write a test that demonstrates that it's not good enough. Okay, so we're still getting a failure on the second assertion there that we're getting. Oh no! This is the other test, the first test that we had, and we've got a TDD that's double deletion, I think, or trying to use deleted data. So what's going on there? This is the socket connection. Deleting the client. I think that's unrelated to this test. It's just general flakiness, maybe. Yeah, I'm guessing it's unrelated and probably just a bad luck with cosmic rays or whatever. Sometimes the client container here, the test fixture, kind of conks out. So I wouldn't expect to see that crash again. It's a shame that it's a little bit flaky, but it's not something that comes up a lot often. Oh no, it's happening again. So it's something screwy here. Cool. Okay. Nice. This is interesting. Okay. So which test is failing? It's the same one, I'm guessing. Oh, now we can't see which test it was. Well, I can guess it. Oh, this one was failing, so let's see. So it was when this finishes and tries to go out of scope, tries to delete the client. That didn't work. And here again, it's just doing it when it's trying to delete the client at the end of the test. And it just can't handle the socket disappearing. Strange. The object's still there. Let's just take a quick look at the code changes, because so that test is fine. It's not that test that's breaking it. Give item. And that's just undoing what was there before, I think. Yep, so that's fine. That's just reverting. If action quantity is more than one, then begin crafting with action quantity -1. This is all. Should all be fine, because I mean, let's just comment that out and see what happens. I don't see how that code would cause a client crash here. Unless... no, yeah. Well, let's just double check that that's what's causing the problem. Comment that out. Whoop. Restart. And so, I mean, I expect to see test values here, but I don't expect to see a crash, because fundamentally there's no difference between this and the code how it was before. I mean, a crash in the new test maybe, but that's not what I was seeing. Alright, run the test again. Test value, that's fine. So I expect to see a second test value, I guess, because the new test isn't satisfied. The later assertion in the second test. What now? Map set iterator, not. Why is that happening? What test is this? Speed modifiers. Okay, so this is an older style test. It doesn't use my test fixtures, which means that it's. I mean, all of this is kind of boilerplate that I don't need. But it's boilerplate that I can replace with a test fixture. So I'm actually going to take a quick detour, and update this little test. I don't necessarily think this will solve the problem, but better to work with the most up-to-date technology if I can. So if I've got a test I need to change, generally I'll make sure it's up to date. So the fixture gives me server and client with data, and then use data. And then I can get rid of, that's just test data. I can get rid of these. Grass is fine. I might change that to a pointer, just for the sake of cleanliness. Right. So I don't even need that. That's automatic now. That's automatic now. Arrow. So we're doing something similar here with 150 milliseconds and a base of 200. Oh yeah, and then a recipe, a tool that doubles it. So okay. And then here I've got different data. This is the same test case. That's automatic. Gross. Don't need that. Set message. Don't need that. So just guessing there's quite a bit of boilerplate code here that isn't necessary anymore. All right, let's build and see where I forgot to change dots to arrows. Yeah, there's always a couple. I need to rebuild everything. Just test, so build. Cool. So I'll commit just that by itself, and then I'll figure out what's going on with these tests. So that's just this one test. That's the new one, and this is the tool speed. Change tool speed test to use fixture. So I haven't semantically changed what that test does. I've just made it a bit cleaner and saved 8 lines of code, so not huge, but a similar change I did previously was this one, and that saved a good 30 lines of code, 25 lines, so it's nice. Okay, so we've still got this new test, this new code. Well, not much new code. And let's run the test again and see what happens. So, I mean, if we still get the crash in that one, at least it'll be a little easier to work with now. But I'm not necessarily expecting it. It seems like there's a bit of flakiness going on. There's something going wrong, but it's not necessarily always failing in the same place. Test failures expected. I'm expecting a second test failure if there's no crash. Although it doesn't seem like I'm getting it because I should have been in this one test case. Yeah, why? Where's my other failure here? the failure I'm getting is that first step here, this. So if I try to craft 2, I'm only getting 1 because I undid the thing basically. But here, so this is wrong. That should be 2. That's why I was passing. Yeah, so here's 2 ideas. Yeah. So yeah, this is why it's important to make sure you get the expected test values, because otherwise you can't confidently know that you've actually fixed the problem. Yeah, so I need to see this test failure, and I did. So now I'll run it again because it seems like it's a little bit flaky. There are intermittent crashes here, and it's not very reliable. So I'm guessing what I did there to rewrite the test is not going to help with that. So if I run the test like another 5 times, I expect to see another crash. Okay, we've got our 2 test values now, which is better. Good. Okay, well, let's just keep working. I'll uncomment the new code, and then we'll see what the hell's going on, because that seemed to more reliably create a crash using deleted memory. I'm guessing it's because we're crafting a second time, and maybe the client is getting cleaned up too soon, or the test is ending while there's still stuff going on. I was hoping that'd be enough to make this pass, but it's not. So I'm curious about why those are still failing. Interesting. So that code should have made them pass, I think. Why is it not working? So the assertion here is a wait until, which waits 3 seconds for the condition to become true, and this should only be taking 200 milliseconds. So I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, so this should exit early already. So some of these steps are going to be unnecessary if I can get this working. So it's not too bad. But why is this failing? So it's easier to debug one case at a time, so let's comment this one out. And the failure is here, so the second crafting is not happening. We're sending one message. So let's put a breakpoint here and see what's going on. So this should hit with the first one. we'll create this breakpoint when the first crafting is completing, and it should be kicking off the second one. We'll make sure everything's what we expect it to be. But I don't see how this could be where the problem is. Alright, so it should all succeed. Damage tools, remove items. Get the product, give the product. Give back any byproducts, unlocks. So action quantity here should be 2. Why is that 1? That's the problem, obviously. Are we in the right test here? Oh, we're in the wrong test. No wonders. Okay. Let's fix this. So we'll just change this to run just the one test case we're interested in. So I'm giving the test thing, instead of just the tag, we'll give it the exact test name and run again. And so we should hit that breakpoint, and this should actually be the correct one. Get down here, action quantity is 2, good. Then we begin crafting with action quantity minus of 1. Begin crafting. Okay, I have a suspicion of what the problem is. So we break out of the switch here, and then we probably set the action to finished. Okay, there's the problem. So yeah, doing it this way maybe isn't as clean as I was hoping it would be. I can put a little condition around this, or I can just go straight to doing it the other way. Let's see. Well, I was right that the problem wasn't up there, it's down here. I guess I could go with the original decrement action quantity. Then if it's more than or equal to 1, do that. And then is there an early break here? Return. So then if I just check this, action quantity equals 0, and all right, let's try that. It's a bit messy. It's not obvious that the action quantity is strictly to do with crafting, so the next step might be to do some refactoring to make that a bit more clear. Move that stuff into a struct. Get rid of the breakpoint, start again. passes. Okay, so now we just uncomment this and get the tests to run every crafting test and run that. So because I'm changing general action code, it's possible that I'll break something else. I don't think I did, but it's possible. So just running the crafting test is not necessarily enough. But I'll make sure I run all the entire test suite before I do a full release and see if and pick up any of those problems. Crafting. So now I expect everything to pass. So that means I won't be able to present the user with, if he says craft all, I can't say crafting 3 based on inventory space because that's not checked until the end. But I'll get a minimum feature built and then I'll try it out and see how it feels. Maybe it'll be good enough without that extra feedback. Okay, so I'll commit this. The code change is what? Instead of giving multiple products when crafting n, repeat entire action, user action. Cool. So that actually takes care of this, 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 I think, and the not these, not the tools. So yeah, that's not too bad. We still can't support infinite crafting, so craft all, and we have to handle tool changes. So the way to handle tool changes is to switch it from repeating this to repeating this, but we can do that with a. We need to demonstrate that with a test failure. So. Section multiple crafts tools are checked for each crafting action. So given so we need a recipe that takes time and also uses a tool, and then we'll remove the tool while the first one's being crafted. So the game is okay with you losing a tool after you've started. So for example, if you're smelting tin and you need an oven, you can click craft and start the progress bar going, and then if the oven goes out halfway through, you still get your thing. So we'll so given ideas take 100 milliseconds and inspiration.
and given inspiration. So that'll probably be an item in the inventory or an object. An item is probably quicker. The user has inspiration when he tries to come up with 2 ideas, and when 50 milliseconds elapses. And just for the sake of clarity, the first idea is still being crafted. Is still in progress. And when the inspiration disappears, and when another 100 milliseconds elapses, well, let's go enough for both ideas to finish. Then he has only 1 idea. A bit of a mouthful. I just realized that what I wanted to do was refactor that action stuff. So I might do that now. Well, no, because I'm not sure exactly how I'll be using it yet. No, I will, because it's a mess. And it'll help with other stuff as well. So I'll do that before I write the test, so that I can just keep running all the tests. This is not going to be a terribly controversial refactor. It's just moving stuff into a struct. So I can't imagine anything really going wrong here. And since there's been no just code change, it's just a new test that doesn't even have anything in it. There's no reason for why those tests shouldn't continue to pass. So let's go to the user header. And because I'm changing the user header, I'll need to rebuild the entire server, so I can start the rebuild while I do other code. Action. What is action? Enum. Okay. Struct action properties. And I'll give it a name. Action properties. MST time. I'll just move them in, and then I can do a rename in a separate commit. Just for the sake of keeping commits small and dedicated. So this one's just going to keep the same names but move them into a different place, so it should be easy to see what's going on from looking at the diff, and the person who's going to have to do that is me, and I can deduce from the change that nothing terribly complicated is going on. If I try to do both at once, it gets a lot harder to verify by looking at the diff that everything's correct. If I do it in 2 steps, then I can see, okay, everything's still the same here, and all the renames are logical. Okay, so let's just start a build. Unfortunately, if I'm doing a rename separately, it means I'm going to have to rebuild again separately, but that's fine. So rebuild, we'll start kicking this off, so the header should be fine, and everything that uses the header will rebuild, and I'll also get a nice list of errors telling me where I need to change the code. Although since it's building 3 projects at once, maybe that's not going to be terribly fast. It might get a bit unresponsive. Okay. Action object. Action properties dot. Copy that for later. Why do we need the action object coming out of the class? That's a little strange. Force all to one target. Okay, I guess that's okay. So basically, when a user goes offline, we need to make sure that, or when an object disappears, rather, we want to make sure that people aren't targeting it and getting a null error for an unused whatever, referring to an object that doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so go back to error list. What's next? Jeez, this is slow. Alright, well that's easy. We can move those into the header. Which of course means that we'll have to rebuild yet again, so I'll just stop the build. No action. 0. Null pointer. Quantity. 0. Slot. That. Inventory slot. Inventory size being not a valid action slot because it's 0 indexed, so inventory size as an action slot implies invalid or no slot. 0, 0. What was that? False? No default. Interesting. No, I'll just give it a default anyway. Okay, now let's try again. I'll just build the tests because the server I'm going to have to rebuild yet again when I do the renames, so there's no real benefit. I'll just get through the tests and go back to my error list, which will continue to show us where everything needs to be changed. All the test code isn't going to need anything. But it's taking a while to build all the tests. All right, scrap that. I'm going to build everything at once because I want to see the error messages. All right, that's better. So these are coming from building the server while everything else is going in the background. Lots of stuff here. Action recipe, action time. Let's stop. Action quantity. Time. Slot. Location. NY city. Object. Time. pretty much everything should be in this region of the code, I think. Down here. Action recipe. I'll probably change this to a reference because it's all these Arab operators make me uncomfortable. Plus, I don't want too many levels of indirection. Construct. Similarly here, it's deconstruct. Action quantity. All right, let's try that. I've probably missed something, but like probably the setters, like when you start doing stuff. I've got begin gathering, begin crafting, begin constructing. Is that it? Begin deconstructing. Action object, action time. Did I miss something here? Deconstruct. Action object. Client doesn't need any rebuild. That's good. So it's just the two projects, the server and the test projects, that are rebuilding. And the only reason I'm doing both is because the server one's going to give me error messages sooner. I don't have to worry about tests being built. Although there are no errors yet, I'm guessing they're all going to be in user.cvp. I can't imagine that, I mean, especially since they're private, there'd be any errors outside of there, but let's see what we've got. Action time. Missed that one. Missed that one. Quite a lot of these. Action time. Whatever, this should probably move into a function. Action object. Quantity. Jeez, there's a lot of these. Wow. That's fine. Action slot. Action slot. Action slot. Goodness. Alright, let's stop and try again. rebuilding the test is almost done. So if there are any more after this, maybe I can just rebuild the test alone instead of the server as well. So it's finished. No errors, so that's all good. So we can look at committing that. Oh, actually, I will run the test first just to make sure, but it should be fine to commit. Move. Action fields into a struct. I can undo the commit if it turns out there's a test failure. But I'm sure it'll be fine. So this test is going to check this item here, not this one. So for this one, only two. Well, no. If I get this working the way I expect it to, then this should come for free, and so there's no test to write there. Yeah, and then that should be it. And I can just start working on the Infinity, and then I can do some client side stuff, add new buttons, actually call the thing properly. So. The existing code that will call, what happens when you click the crafting button is currently broken in the current state of things, because it calls the crafting message without adding a quantity at the end. All right, we'll run those tests, and so that's something I'll need to fix. Ideally, I would write a test for that, but that would mean basically a test that involves clicking on the craft button in the craft UI, which is not only a pain to write, but also a pain to maintain if I ever change the crafting window, which I fully intend to do in the not too distant future. So I'll just do it. I'm less disciplined about TDD when it comes to the client. It's less mission critical, I guess. Cool. So that's fine. Let's push those just so I don't lose any work. And now we can do a rename. If Visual Studio decides to survive. Cool. All right. So for stuff that's only relevant to one type of action, I can give it a name relating to that. Here's should be owned by city. Fine. Construct location. Failed to modify. That's fine. I'll build and that should pick anything up. construct from slot. Construction type. This would be construct location. That's the one I already did, right? Okay, it just didn't work. Should construction. Maybe I can put these into substructs just for the sake of, I don't know. Craft quantity. Recipe. Object. Don't need that. Oh, I don't need that one. Don't need these. Time remaining. All right, and build the well, I've got to build all three anyway, so let's just build. I don't expect any errors. Oh, there we go. Got an error. That's interesting. How does that make any sense, that line? Action room by city, construct location. That's all screwed up. What happened there? How on earth did that happen? I've got two things called construct location. Jeez. Where's my header? Yeah, something screwed up there. All right, I'm gonna just scrap everything and start again. That's I don't know what happened there. All right. Time remaining. That is object. Recipe. Craft quantity. Let's call it quantity to craft. A little more descriptive. Object to construct slot to construct from construction location should construction be owned by city. All right, let's try again. I'm guessing that problem was related to the replace that didn't quite work before. Okay, let's just take a quick look at the diff. I'm assuming everything's going to go okay, just like I assumed last time. Hopefully that makes it a bit more clear and terse. It's still quite bulky, a lot of this code. Oh well, it's better than it was. Rename user action properties. And then we can start fleshing out this test. Yeah, this is all going to be fine. So I might just start doing it now. As long as I don't try to save this file, it should be okay. So, I'll copy again from here. So we'll need a new item called inspiration. Well, the tag is called inspiration. Where looking for code to copy. I'll just look at real code. So if we go to items, look for something with a tag. Easy. Tag is inspiration. And the item itself is what? What inspires you? A self-help book? That'll do. Doesn't have to be perfect, it's just self-help book. The book disappears. There's a thing on objects for tools that makes them get destroyed when they're used. That would be a cleaner way of doing this. I think... I don't know how to find that test. Construction, maybe. Objects destroyed when used as tools. So this is only for objects, but that's fine. That means I can make an object. Yeah. Cool. So let's do that. Then I don't have to worry about manually destroying it. Although now I need to think of another inspiration. I'll use self-help book later. Let's use tool. Tag is inspiration, and the object is called. What is an object that inspires you? An altar, a statue, a church, a beautiful view, a sunset, a sports car. Art. I'll put with that. Artwork. Well, it doesn't really make sense that it would be destroyed if used. It may be nonsensical, but it should at least be logical, just for the sake of comprehending the test. Yeah, I'm still waiting for. Oh no, it's finished building. That's a shame. That means I'm under more pressure to come up with something quickly. What's an object? An inspiring object that is destroyed when used for inspiration. Why on earth is that failing? Oh, that's a server running thing. So again, that's the test fixture being silly. Okay. Nothing wrong with the test. Well, there is nothing wrong with the test, obviously, but the test logic is fine. The behavior being tested is not the problem here. It's just the test framework being stupid. Maybe a flower. That's okay. And then you pick the flower and it inspires you and it destroys it. Okay, that'll do. It's tenuous, but it's something. Alright, test passing, good. He's committed. Good. No, that's the new test. Alright. Oh, that's fine. So, flower. How inspiring. I just take 100 milliseconds of inspiration. And there's an inspiring flower nearby. Add object. Tries to come up with two ideas. 50 milliseconds elapses. No, I don't even need to do it in such small steps here because the flower's gonna get destroyed. Get destroyed when used. Inspiration. And the one tries to come up with two ideas, and 250 milliseconds elapses. Then he has only one idea. $250. I'll move this inventory slot up. No, I can't. So the user doesn't actually get created until use data is called, so that doesn't help me. Okay. Let's try that. Object. Create the object, and then this is the expected failure. We want this to be 1, but the default behavior will be 2 because currently we'll only check the tool when starting out. Yep. It doesn't actually tell me how many there are, so I should fix that. Yeah. Because it could be 0, because the tool isn't working properly. So what actually might be better is doing this in 2 steps, just for the sake of just confidence that it's the right thing is happening. So we'll do 150 and 1. And then another 100. He's still. Yeah. So then we can actually see whether it's whether the correct assertion is failing. So I'm assuming that this is the one that was failing, but now we can see whether it was this one instead. Just to make sure that it's getting this far and the one is being created properly. Yes, okay, good. So now I'm more confident that it's failing for the correct reason, and now I can start looking at the solution. So I guess the problem is that a lot of this functionality is going to be in message handling, which means it's harder to call than if it were just in a function. So I'll first try splitting out the message parsing from the all the semantics of doing the thing. I can even do recipe lookup and stuff in the message handling. So all of this this I can do sooner. This has to be done in the thing. Cancel action. Remove instructable buffs. Begin crafting. So let's go into user and make a new function. Not begin crafting, but something higher level than that. On crafting message, maybe we can call it. Begin crafting is a good, well, maybe try crafting. Handle crafting request. Yeah, let's go. Try crafting. Right. Try crafting. Recipe. So this first step is going to be a refactor. I'll comment out this test effectively, and so that I can just make sure the refactor isn't breaking anything, and then the actual code change to make this possible will be relatively trivial, which should make the commit nice and clean. So here's the new test, and here's the small amount of code change to make it work, so that it's easy to comprehend what the actual code change semantically was. So I'll separate the refactor from the semantic change, the behavioral change. So what do we need? Speed and quantity. Speed's going to be calculated inside here, so then we just want quantity. Try crafting quantity. Yep. So eventually here we'll go try crafting. We don't have the recipe yet, so let's get that first. With this, we only have to do this once. We don't have to do this for each subsequent one because it's just checking data on the server. So, if I don't really need to give a error message. It would be good if I did, because this is completely should be very exceptional behavior here. Error. Do I have an appropriate error? And then recipe. Yeah, that'll do. Good enough. Cool. beginner crafting takes a S recipe. Okay. Forgive my surprise. There are a number of naming conventions in this project as I change my mind about what the best way is to name things. So for client stuff, I've got client object, client ABC, and then C data loader, C dropped item, and C recipes. Problem is that the test project uses everything from the server and everything from the client, and so I can't have duplicate class names. I suppose I could use namespaces, but well, it's not so much class names. The problem is file names. Visual Studio can't handle two files of the same name, even if they're in different directories. So yeah, or it can, but for whatever reason I couldn't get it working here, and I didn't try very hard. But anyway, so that's fine. We've got try crafting, and then inside try crafting, we will put all of this, that, and all this. Okay. So this is effectively a refactor. So let's run the test to make sure we haven't broken anything. Syntax error. All right. And all the tests should still pass, and then I'll uncomment this and make sure that the new test still fails, which I fully expect to be the case. While we wait, I'll show you where the thing's actually getting called. So here's the crafting window. Unlock, do one-click recipe. One-click children. There's a button here somewhere. There's filters. Popular recipes list. Refresh recipe detail panes where it would be. Tools list, and then tools list, unlocks. Where's the actual button? Maybe it's higher up. Huh. Got some problems here. User. Oh, so this will be user dot, and then cancel action, remove that, freaking crafting. Yeah. Let's try again. Yeah, where'd that go? Well, we can just do a search for this. And client. Client.cpp. Interesting. Start crafting. Okay, so start crafting is a function that gets called. So we'll probably end up adding an argument here, but this is bad. So we'll eventually have to add a quantity here. And again, as I said, I don't plan to add test coverage for that, so I might as well just do that now. One. Actually, no, I can write a test. Start crafting, I can just call that function. Hopefully it's public, but who knows? No. Well, that's good. It's good that I can do test coverage for that. I'm relieved because I don't have to deal with the UI. Although, if I add extra buttons, then this gets a bit complicated. So I won't be able to test exactly the UI buttons, but I can handle that function, give that function a quantity argument, and yeah. All right. Recipe ID. Does this recipe have an ID? ID field? No. Oh, it does. There's recipes base class, and that would have an ID, I guess. Yes. Good. Good. All right. Recipe.id. This will be recipe.materials, recipe.tools, try again. Begin crafting recipe. All right, so that's nice, fairly clean looking. Is this even used? What does it look like before? Item set. Yeah, we're not even using this. Oh. While we wait, we can write the commit message. Refactor handler move. Guts of into a function in user. Poll post. All right. And I'll just quickly remove this unused thing. Once Visual Studio finds itself. So it's a nice little elegant function. If it's stunned, return. If you don't know the recipe, return. If you don't have the materials, return. Get tool speed. Check requirements. That's a bit bulky, but whatever. Cancel action. Remove buffs. Begin crafting. Excellent. Commit. Got the new test. Oh, that shouldn't have been committed before. Oh well, my mistake. Got a bit too click happy with the refactor before. I kind of want to clean that up. Oh, it was an earlier thing anyway, so no, I can't do it. It's already pushed. Okay, so we've got the test, we've got a new function. Remove from here, add to here, commit. So that was a refactor, and now the actual code will be. Oh, hang on. No, I shouldn't commit that. Undo. Omit the test. That's better. All right, now the test and the code. So we'll run the test again. Now, since that critical assert there has been uncommented out, we expect that test to fail. And the solution to this is going to be relatively good, relatively straightforward. I'll undo a little bit of the work I did before, and just instead of restarting the action, I'll go a little higher level and recall try crafting. Yep, that's the expected failure. Okay. Now, I'll go down here. What was it? Crafting. So we won't put the condition here. What we'll instead do is quantity to craft. So instead of this, we'll call quantity remaining equals quantity to craft -1. If quantity remaining is 1 or equal to 1, then try crafting recipe. We don't give it a speed anymore, so that should mean this is no longer necessary either. And quantity remaining. And then try crafting. This is still actually a problem. So we want to not do this. So what condition can we put on there? So we might still want to send the action finish message. But then we want to send this first before we do the before we do this. So let's get it done, and then I can refactor if we can find an obvious way to refactor. So I want to call that, and then call entity update, and then return. Finish action. That's before all that. And then entity update. Time elapsed. And then return. Yeah. It's a mess. I'm trying to think. There's no obvious solution here to clean it up. Unless I move the finishing stuff into each of these cases, and then it's still not working. Interesting. So it's not working. That's fine. So let's figure it out. We'll debug just this one case. Crafting quantity. So I believe we can go crafting quantity section that and I should just run that one section. Cool. Now I'll put a breakpoint in here and run through each of the two times it does this. The timing may get screwed up actually, so it might not work. That is to say, we might not see the second one start, but we can see how the first one handles everything. Alright. Damage tools. Good. Fine. Actually, let's start again because damage tools I'm interested in. I want to make sure that it's actually happening. No tools. Idea. No tools. That's... the recipe needs to require the damn... Okay, so there's a problem with the test. So let's fix that. So here I expected the test to be passing. It's failing because the test was wrong. So now we're in a little bit of a limbo state where the test was wrong. So now that my previous verification that the test was passing for the right reason, failing for the right reason, was not a valid verification. And since I'm about to change the test, ideally I would check that the test is failing again for the right reason. The code change is... look, I'll go on faith here. So the recipe, and for a recipe to require a tool, looks like this. All right, run again. Now this should pass. Excuse me. I'm gonna get that breakpoint, but I don't necessarily want it. Did I get rid of the breakpoint? Well, the test passing. Cool. So the test passing, meaning it's creating one. The act of creating it will destroy the object, the tool, and then it can't craft it a second time. But the other tests, it is crafting a second time over time, so that's all working. That's great. It's still working. So now I need to support a zero case, or not necessarily zero, but a way of specifying, of calling craft infinite. And zero is not going to work very easily because it's currently zero implies all done, no more. Maybe I can special case zero as a... Well, we'll see. So we are moving when crafting multiple, repeat most checks. Yeah, that basically covers it. Because it's not that the tool usage is not the only thing that's changing here. It's tool checking rather is not the only thing that's changing here. It's also, we're also looking at the making sure that when the time comes to craft the second time that you're not stunned. Let's try crafting. Yeah, that you're not stunned, that you know the thing. Well, that's not likely to change. I mean, conceivably it could, but that you have the necessary materials, that was already there, I think. No, that would not have been checked again. So you wouldn't have been able to finish it, but it would have started a new one. And then done their check only when it got to the end and realized, you didn't actually have these things when I tried to take them away. So, yeah. Cool. Cool. All right. And it will also remove any interruptible buffs on subsequent ones. So if somehow you got a food buff while you're crafting, it will now get removed again. Then it's not something likely to happen, but anyway. So it's more than just the this get tool speed. Get has required tools that was being checked here. Now it's doing all this extra stuff as well. So I don't need to add test coverage for this extra stuff, which logically I want this behavior to be tested, but because there's in a function that we get to double up there. So of course, if I separate this out and move it out and copy and paste and have duplicate code, then we're going to get code that isn't covered by a test, and then I can remove. It's possible to get this into a state where I break it and the tests don't reveal that, but unlikely. But yeah, so TDD does not guarantee full test coverage. It guarantees that the behavior you specify is correct. But in this case, I'm not specifying that if I try to craft two things and then I get stunned, then the second one doesn't happen. There's no test for that. Yeah. But under TDD, right now, there's no failing test I could write for that because the functionality is already there. So TDD is not perfect. It's not a way of getting perfect test coverage, but it is a way of guaranteeing the behavior that you specify, and as long as your refactoring tends to move in the direction of reducing code duplication and doesn't move in the opposite direction, then I think you're probably pretty safe. Because it's the fact that this isn't a function, all this stuff together, that I don't have to write test coverage for that. So I've got a test here for the right speed is used when crafting. Well, it's up there somewhere. And that's covered now by the fetching the speed. So yeah, I don't need to write a test for that, and I couldn't write a failing test for that. I mean, I have written tests before that pass just for the sake of test coverage. Not often, but it does happen. Usually it happens because I write the test expecting it to fail, find it passes, realize, the behavior's already there, and then I figure, well, I might as well commit the thing because I'm confident the test actually works. Yeah, so it's just here's some extra test coverage. Is that committed? Yes. Push. And infinite. Well, let's write the test, then we can figure out how to do it. So I'll just use this similar this initial case. So we've got bread, we've got section crafting infinite times when the user sends a craft message with quantity 0. That's a lower level description than I would normally use here, but that's basically the behavior I want. The API here is the craft message, and the behavior is specifically about reacting to 0. There's not more high level than that. There's no separate message for craft infinite. I could add that. I could do it that way, but might as well just use the same. Again, similarly to before, using the same message means I get more assurance that that's all working properly. If I use a duplicate message, then I have to add new message handling code, make sure I do all the same checks. It's more robust to reuse these messages where possible. So, user sends a craft message with quantity 0. Then his inventory gets filled up with bread. So we'll just do that. We'll move this up here so we can reuse it. And then we'll wait until that const order expected. Oh no, we don't need to check the expected quantity. We just have to no, I don't know. I can move this down again because there's no. I'm not going to reuse that directly. Well, I don't need to test every single thing. I just have to test slot 1. So I could do a for loop here and go through every single slot and make sure it has a has 10 things in it, but that's overkill. This is enough of a test that will fail. So this is a proxy for inventory getting filled up, but it's not testing exactly the same thing. So I guess it's a matter of style whether this is describing the expected behavior from a feature perspective or the expected behavior from the test perspective, like from in terms of translating what this is actually doing. Yeah, there's no right answer. I'll leave it this way it is because it's a better description of the intent here, what the test is actually trying to prove. This is just my way of proving that. It's the minimal way necessary to prove it. If this works, I'm going to be confident that the inventory is full. So, because the difference is between making 11 to 20 and 150. So, there's no reason why the one would be true but not the other. Yeah. So let's run and see the expected failure. Although the variable name inf slot there is a little ambiguous. It's used twice in the same test case for two different things. The test is passing. That's it's because I'm only running a one section. So I should fix that. And that also means I'm less confident now that I didn't break anything because I didn't run all the other tests. I think I'm fine, but I'll fix that. Visual Studio I think is overdue for a restart. Let's get rid of all that. And crafting. And I'll also just rename this to inf slot 1 0. Alright, so now this will take a little longer because we're running all of the crafting tests, but and we expect just this one to fail, the indefinite times case. Yep, that's the failure, good, and I want everything else to pass. But I'm not super confident because I haven't seen it pass before when I should have. I was running the wrong tests. So, I mean, I don't have any reason to believe it would fail, but I'm not as confident as I would be if I had just seen them pass. So that's the expected failure, and now we can make it pass. So we're getting quantity 0 going through. That will go through to the new function try crafting. It doesn't actually check the quantity until later. So really, I think it's just a matter of well, it will set it in the action properties. Quantity remaining is that. So the quantity remaining is this -1. The problem is this is an unsigned int now, and so if it's 0 and this is subtracted from 0, then that's going to cause an underflow. If there's an underflow there, then why is it failing? This should be some gigantic number. So again, I need to make sure it's failing for the right reason. So I'll go back to running just the one section of this test. And then crafting quantities, because I'm confused about what's happening here. So let's put a breakpoint there. The only time quantity the quantity to craft is used is here. What's going on? I'm a couple of levels in here, so that sectioning isn't going to work. All right, I'll just comment out the bits I don't want. That's messy, but it's the simplest way to get it working, I think. I only want to run the one section because then I know that my breakpoint is in the right place. I'm not getting distracted by other branches. So get rid of that and get rid of these. Okay, so now the breakpoint here should be just this one case. And it'll be the first time it crafts. And that should not be 2. That should be 0. The test was wrong there. So what I expect to see now that I think about it is that I expect to see the test to pass. When it shouldn't, because well, no, I mean, maybe. By the magic of crafting quantity. Oh, I wrote the name of the test wrong. By the magic of underflow, it's kind of working by accident, which is not good. But it works, so that's a problem. So what do I do in the case when it's working by accident, by virtue of trashy bad code? Yeah.
The solution that comes to my mind is I should fix the bad code with a refactor outside of this test, and then run the test again and see it fail. Again, assuming that refactoring works in one direction, and that is making the code better rather than worse. Okay, so now it's failing. Oh, I didn't fix the damn number here. Alright, let's fix that back to 0, and then yeah, I expect, well, the expected behavior is, given that it's bad code, it will pass when it shouldn't. But I just want to confirm that suspicion. So what the refactor will consist of is just changing it from a size t, which is unsigned, into just a normal int, which I think is generally a better practice anyway. But so this is going to look all green, horribly. If you can figure out how to run. Yep, there we go. And green through the magic of integer underflow. So I will comment out. I'll do what I did before with the refactor. I'll comment out this final assertion so that we can run all the tests and check that we're not breaking anything. I'll uncomment out the rest of this test. Fix this to run every crafting test again. Run them, make sure everything's green, because every refactor should start and end with green with every test passing, so we know we haven't broken anything. And then while it's green, I'll change that size t to an int. I mean, it's reasonable. It's not out of the question that a later refactor might change it back from an int to a size t, because that's kind of more logical. I suppose I could test that by calling it with giving -1 as an argument and making sure that it doesn't craft anything. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Handle bad output, bad args. When I'll just copy paste this. User sends across message quantity -1. Then he receives no red. So now we can actually put this up here in slot 0. Check. Oh. So here we're using
wait and check instead of a wait until. Wait until just keeps polling until we get the result we want. So this is fine when we expect change. Here we expect something to be the same. He still has, so there's no change, which means we need to give some time for a potential change to happen. Otherwise, if we just had this check or a wait until, then we're not going to see a test failure here. I'm going to just run this one test because it's faster. It's a dangerous game, I know. So yeah, we need to see this test fail. What have I done? Is the diff looking reasonable? I'll just cut this out, like literally cut Control X, just so that the commit's nice and clean. Alright, so hopefully this should fail. It should fill up the inventory completely. Excellent. Good. And now this will justify the switch from slice t to int, and then if that changes back, then that test will fail. So we're able to do this a little more properly. That won't always be the case, I don't think, but in this case I'm happy to do it this way. So this is the implication of this test is that negative numbers are not handled. Which means 0 is a special case and not just a number. Well, it doesn't imply that, but anyway, the code implication here is that we're going to be changing it to an int. So here it's actually an int anyway. We just need to change try crafting, and we'll change the action properties. Int I think it's down here. Int. Unfortunately, now we need to wait for the user to rebuild yet again because we're changing it. Int, and that should do it. Let's run those tests, and that will take a while. So did I actually commit that client change? I hope I didn't actually accidentally commit it as part of something else. That would be annoying. No, okay, that's good. So we'll go back to client.cpp. That's right. I decided that it was possible to do to actually have test coverage for this. So, great. That's why I didn't do it. I was gonna do it. So there's going to be a bit of a problem here when you try to craft multiple from the client, because this won't get called a second time. So you'll see the progress bar start moving, and then once the first one's finished, I don't think you're going to get another progress bar. So I'll deal with that as it happens. not obvious what the solution there is. The client could do its own counting down of quantity, but then if the server tells it to stop, it's going to have to stop. The server could send a new message saying, you've started crafting. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Because currently the client won't be able to distinguish between the first one's finished and they're all finished. Because the server's still giving the same message when the first one's finished that you're all done. So maybe that's something that should change. Here, where it's giving finish action, maybe it shouldn't. This one's right. Action finished. So maybe a new action here that's doing more. Like instead of you finish, it's action continuing. Action recurring, repeating. Yeah, that's probably what I'll end up saying. So here's where that message is handled. Start action 0. Yeah, so it's just the cast bar. Yeah. Okay, that's not too bad. I can do that. But we'll deal with that when we come to it. It's taking its sweet time. Well, we can start putting the commit together. Int. Yeah, it's easiest if I just cut the test out. Ah, good timing. So this should pass because we've fixed that bug. No, it hasn't. All right, cool. So let's step through and figure out what's going on. All right, so I can put a breakpoint here, and then we can step through it once we get to it without having to copy that everything. Oh, goodness, Visual Studio is dying a death. How much memory is it taking up now? I shudder to look. 2.5 gigs. All right, let's restart this poor thing. Put it out of its misery. This tends to happen when I leave it open a couple of days. So it's interesting that it's still failing. The check was more than or equal to 1, which a negative wouldn't be. It'd go down from -1 to -2. Oh, I see. It's not actually checking the quantity before doing anything. So it's going to craft 1 and then it's going to try. So that's interesting. So the behavior I want, I suppose, is if I call it with -1, nothing happens. But in normal play, a user isn't going to call it with -1. And if I want nothing crafted at all, then it's an easier way to make that pass than changing a size to an int, because I'd also have to add a check earlier, and then the check is, if I put the check in here, then changing the type won't do anything. So I'm going to slightly change this test to make sure explicitly it's about integer underflow, and then I'll make sure that the inventory doesn't get filled up, not just that it not just that it doesn't have anything. So if a user manually calls this message with -1, they'll still get one thing crafted. But the purpose of this test is not to make sure that -1 doesn't craft anything. It's to make sure that we don't get an integer underflow. And so that's what this should reflect. Why is this so slow? Alright, look, I hate to kill it, but it doesn't leave me much of an option. Alright. Goodbye. So the only thing I've lost there is probably that I need to set the test properties to run just that one test. Although maybe the tests will run a bit faster now that the program's going to be restarted. I don't know. Okay. Oh. Crafting quantity. So, of course, adjusting the test here. Oh, I see. So I did figure out what the problem is. The problem is you're getting 1, and I decided that's acceptable. So I understand why we're getting the test still failing. I hate to. I don't really want to. After I fix the test, I don't want to run it again and make sure it still fails, because I don't want to wait for the damn server to rebuild. Unfortunately, changing the type there is gonna screw with me. No, integer underflow. So that can still be here. I keep screwing this case around by moving things around, but his inventory is not full of bread. It may have 1. So that's making clear that the expected behavior isn't that -1 is completely blocked, and that's also the implication of this. It's not saying that -1 is bad, but it's just saying that it's not going to have an underflow. So let's run this again. It's still quite slow. Run this again, and I expect it to pass, and I'll assume that it would fail otherwise. I'm not waiting for another rebuild. Two more rebuilds, actually. One to undo, and then another to redo. It's not worth it. Okay, good. And then I'll get rid of that case there. Avoid integer underflow. In crafting quantity. Yep. And now re-enable that. Run it, and then currently this was 0. We'll go down to -1 and fail. And so this test should fail. Whereas before it was passing incorrectly. Good. Good. Okay. So now it should be a fairly simple fix here. We're going to turn 0 into a special case. We'll use a so if quantity remaining is more than or equal to 1, so if quantity to craft was 0, infinite crafting was requested equals that equals 0. Quantity remaining there's no elegant way to write this, really. I'll just put this after this, and then if quantity remaining is more than or equal to 1, or infinite crafting is requested. If infinite crafting is requested, handle that. Else, that's one case, and then that's another case, and we'll see that there's repeated code, but whatever. That blah blah 0. Yep. Might work, then I'll refactor. Beautiful. So now calling it with 0 makes infinite. And I can refactor and then run it again and make sure that everything is still working. Craft infinite items when requested quantity is 0. Excellent. Now, let's look at refactoring this because it's a mess. So in this case, I want to use quantity remaining. In this case, I want to use 0. All right, let's go. Quantity remaining equals 0. Infinite corrections requested. No, that's no good. Infinite crossing requested or that. Then we just want to call that. But in one case, we want to call it with this. That's conceptually what I want to do, but it's kind of ugly. Yeah. It's fine. Good enough. Oops, I want to... Well, that's going to... Yep. Right. Hopefully everything still passes. Good. Reduce repeated code. Now I'm just do a quick refactor here. What I wanted to do before. So, break after the breaks here, we've got just this. So we'll leave that out here. Attack, we'll leave. Gather, put down there. Craft, that's fine. Although we'll get rid of that and call it and make it a break. And then here, importantly, these are happening before try crafting is called again. So then we'll just get rid of that and break else. No, that's unnecessary. We can do this up here. Yep. Break. See that there. See that there. This is not great, actually. Deconstruct, that's fine. Okay. Let's gather here. Okay. Alright, I'll make sure that crafting still works. The rest of this double test later. There's still some repeated code there, but it's a little cleaner. That's a little more... Oh, what now? You know what? It's not worth the trouble. I thought it would be a clean, easy thing. It's also introducing a lot of repeated code, so maybe it's not worth it. Undo. Alright. Now we're on the test again, make sure they work. So I haven't actually run all of the crafting tests and had them work since introducing the 0 thing. I don't think it'll make a difference, but got to see them pass. And then if this works, we can move on to the client. So to test on the client, we'd have to rebuild it. Everything's working good. We've got to rebuild anyway, so let's just do that, and then I can think about how I can quickly test that it's working. I want to see it in action. I mean, I know it works, but it's fun to see it in action too. Like a lot of these things, when I'm just doing the server side first, I can build the thing completely and be completely confident from the tests that it's all working, and still never actually seen it working in the game. So I'll go into the game, collect a bunch of rocks, and make some nappers or something, and see how that works. Make sure that this server is not going to spawn anything, because that takes a while. Exciting stuff. Well, waiting for everything to build was not so exciting. Looks like it's just the server which is rebuilding, which makes sense. I haven't changed any client code, and the test has just been built, so just waiting for the server. So for the client stuff, we could just add to this test here. We'll basically be testing that this function well, I'll call it and make sure that it doesn't crash, or that you actually get something. Yeah. So simple test of the client. This is more of a unit test. Well, it's both a unit test and a system test. So it's calling a specific, making sure a specific function works and exists and behaves in a certain way, which means that the test is going to be vulnerable to change if the code changes, and the code will probably change. But it also tests that the client communicates with the server properly. So I'll call this function and make sure that we get an item, because this is is in the path of between the user clicking craft something and the server getting that message. So, all right, let's test this out. I've got a server, I've got a client. connect, give, rock, craft, Napa. So that's actually this isn't going to work. It's not because oh yeah, so this will if I do it on the command line because I'll be able to specify a quantity. So this will make 1. Good. If I try making 3, I'm expected to only get 1 progress bar. Oh no, getting to amazing. Okay, that's great. That means that the only thing really is the buttons. That's great. And fixing the function. So now if I go craft Napa 0, it should just do as much as it can until the inventory fills up, and then hopefully it will stop. So we'll let that go for a bit. But this is great. This is really great. The server must be sending a message to confirm that the action is happening. So for a player who's not on the same machine as the server, there might be a little bit of a delay with the second progress bar starting, but that's fine. This is great. This is going to be so convenient for watering farms. Jeez. Because this is the most tedious part of filling up all the water jugs. Yeah, this is I was also tempted to rush to work on the wells just so there's a faster tool to water farms, but yeah, it's not necessary. All right, it's going to try to make another one and stop. Hopefully. Beautiful. Inventory full, action interrupted. Oh, that's great. That's really great. Okay. So, so the problem with this upcoming test is that it will assume that this function is the linchpin of this communication pipeline. I'll just delete that because that's what I'm doing now. So I might just make it a part of a simpler crafting test. Or maybe there isn't really a simpler one. I'll just use it as part of this one. Client function works as ordering from earlier in the client. It's not a great description, but whatever. When let's start crafting is called, then the user gets bread. So I'll have to probably add a wrapper function in the test client. So this client object here is not the client itself, but a test client, which is a wrapper around client and offers a whole lot of functions. There is an arrow operator to get to stuff inside the client, but since start crafting is private, I'll have to add a wrapper. So this is a friend class. So I'll just void start crafting. Active recipe. I'll set that somehow. Okay, let's go. It's a little more complicated. Oop. So I'll do that, but we'll also want to active recipe equals recipe, and then start crafting. Okay. So client start crafting. We'll go client get first recipe, which also may not exist. Let's just get an arbitrary recipe from get first blah blah blah. C recipe, is it? Get first recipe. Implementation. Just copy that. Recipes. I don't know what the type is there. It is a set of C recipe. That's fine. Begin second. That's a map. So that's just a star. Okay. So we start crafting, and then I'm just going to move these up here. Well, the edge one's only used once, isn't it? No, that was used twice. Yeah, whatever. Alright. Run. And I expect it to fail because the message won't be handled, because it's calling the message here without a quantity. So that's what this test is going to force. It's going to have to rebuild all the tests because the test client has changed. Oh, it's tedious. So there's a couple of helper functions, and then the test itself. This is, yeah, okay. Fix include quantity include missing quantity arg when client sends sale craft message. So the stage right here, we've got a failing test. We want to see it fail for the right reason, and then we want to fix it. And the fix will be very simple. I'll just be adding an extra argument here. The number 1. As for passing through the actual quantity, it'll probably be a parameter on this, because I'm pretty sure this will be called by the buttons. Yep. So there'll just be a number of these buttons instead of just one. failure. And again, I'll restrict that to just that one test case, just for the sake of speed, since that's where the test is. I don't expect anything to put any of the rest of it to possibly fail due to my changing the client code here, so this is fine for now. And so to fix that failure, we go back to client to COP and make args 1. So now whenever you click craft, it sends a message with a quantity of 1 instead of nothing. So currently if I click the craft button, it will do nothing. It will send a message and the message will be rejected. It did just occur to me that maybe the progress bars were empty, and that's not good. So if I try to make 2 nappers, then I might only get text in the progress bar for the first one. So we'll have to fix that. But I'll get the quantities. I'll put the buttons in first, and then I'll make sure that the whole user experience is complete. But I'll check the behavior now, just because I'm pretty sure they were empty. I wanted to see whether the first one was full. The first one had text in it. It should have. I don't recall seeing the text. I wasn't paying that much attention. I was just too excited to see a progress bar the second time around. Get rock craft napper 2. Oh, no text. Right, okay, so that's because I'm sending the message directly instead of using this function. Alright, so I'll have to add the buttons, and then we'll where are those buttons actually? We'll look at what the layout's going to be. I think the crafting is in the bottom left of that pane, so I can just change it to craft 1, 5, 10, all. So 3 little buttons on the right, and then hopefully there's room for them. Eventually I will be making some pretty big changes to this crafting window, but for now this is going to be great. Alright, so where are we? IWA, crafting, mapper. No. I need to move. This is not space. There is no space. So I'll move this up a bit. Move the crafting button to the left. 10 pixels ought to do it. I'll leave this server running. At this point I'm just changing client code, so there's no need to kill the server. Okay, so we'll go to the crafting window. That's our button. So the button's always there. Tools list I can shorten a little bit. Well, I can shorten tools and Tools list height. Total list space. 3. Okay. And then where's the button? Populate. Filters, no. Refresh recipe details pane. Yep. Button Y is what? Okay, that could work. So I think that'll do it. I'll x equals button gap panel pane rect. No, that's not good. Hopefully X is enough here. Button Y. Equals all of these constants and everything. It's a big mess. It's and they're everywhere throughout the UI code. Let's make that 35. Narrow button width equals 15. I'll see how that goes. So wide button width, button height, side crafting. X plus equals wide plus button gap, and then X button Y narrow, and that's going to say craft 1 5, or should it be 10? I don't know. What number should we have? All right, let's try just. Oh. Button width. Button width. Craft max. So the buttons aren't going to, they're both going to do the same thing now. They're just both going to craft one, but we can at least see what the layout looks like. And then we'll add an argument to start crafting, and that can be the number, the quantity to craft. All right. What's the username? IWA. All right. Craft one. These are a bit narrow. I can widen them by what? 10? Cool. And then button width, button width, button width. Try that. It's a shame loading the clients is so slow. I wonder what I think the delay mostly is loading the map. In the release build is a lot faster to load up. But that would mean rebuilding the release build, which is just as much time, just waiting for the rebuilding. So we'll tolerate this for now. Once I get the buttons working, I don't have to really test it again. I'll get the quantities in, and I'll yeah. The gap is a bit big, I think. I'll make it a little bit narrower, maybe 48. Or maybe this one can just be a normal button. This is tedious waiting for it to start up. While I'm waiting for that, I'll start looking at fixing this. So, start crafting. Declaration. Int quantity 0 equals infinite. Client quantity, and then crafting window 1 0. Craft 1, Craft Max. That's pretty good. All right, that's good enough. Good enough for now. So let's close that. I do want to test it. I can't help myself. Although client.h, oh, the whole client. The whole client. Is it the whole client? No. Not everything uses client. Client uses everything. Most things just have a pointer to the client, so it shouldn't have to rebuild the entire client, but we'll see. I can't not test it. It's too much fun. So this is two things in one commit, unfortunately. One is adding an extra button. One is fixing the quantities, but whatever. Add a craft max button to crafting window. Rebuilding the test too, but I don't have to wait for that. Just gotta wait for the client to go. So number 1 here is the client, 3 is tests. So once 1 finishes, I can run this thing and see it in action and smile and call it a night. And when I do this through clicking, I can observe the what the progress bar looks like, what the text is. My guess would be it works for the first one, and for subsequent ones it's either blank or just says crafting and nothing else. Actually, no, I'm guessing it would be, just blank, because there's nothing telling it that it's crafting. It's just all this information is coming from the server. So that's something we'll have to fix, but not tonight. It's getting very late. By which I mean early. All right, the client's done. Let's take a look. We'll make a new character so we have an empty inventory. And then we'll see how we go. He should do something about this. This load time is not great. Well, it's worse than that. Alright. Give rock. Crafting. Appa. Craft 1. Yep, that progress text works fine. Craft max. That works fine. Now let's see what it looks like after that. Oh, it works. Oh, that's amazing. I guess it never gets cleared or... Oh, this is amazing. All right, I guess the feature's done. Eventually, like in the final version of the next iteration of the crafting window, which will be coming soon, it'll be good for the user to be able to put a number in, a little text box, but there's not really any space for that. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. All right. I'll probably make a release out of this tomorrow because it's a sufficiently good feature. But well, I'll call it a night. While I'm gone, I'll let the release mode build because that'll take a little bit of time. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm glad we got this thing finished today. And I hope to see you next time. Have a great day.